In this episode of Film Stock Reviews, I'm reviewing episode 2 of season 11 of American Horror Story NYC, or New York City. This episode is titled Thank You for Your Service. Now, after the events of episode 1 of what happened with Gino and how he got kidnapped and drugged and kind of seeing who the face is of this serial killer or not the serial killer, you kind of felt for the character of Gino, because in the first episode we just started to like him, and all of a sudden something happens to him. Now, he was drugged at a bar when he was talking to Henry, Dennis O'Hare's character, trying to figure out who frequents the bars and, wants to write an article about serial killers and everything. And this episode is really, really heavy forward on the character of Gino. He's playing a reporter, a gay reporter. That's very rare sometimes, but he's playing the role so well. Joe Mantello as Gino, I keep saying it, and I even said it in my previous review, for my episode 1 review. The character is great, and the actor that plays him is phenomenal. It's just my favorite character in this season. Now, the cops pick up Adam for posting things about, if you see something, say something. Call this number, for the gay community, and try and, get things out. So the cops arrest Adam. They don't say what they arrested him for, but Detective Reed, or Patrick Reed, is there while other officers are kind of belittling him. And then they bring in this African American man wearing a jockstrap who just slaps Adam and then walks out. Okay, all right. What was the whole context of that? Really degrading to the character of Adam because he's gay. And then Patrick, Detective Reed, goes to him in the cell and says, I'm going to get you out of here. And kind of in a way, Adam's like, do they know? And then Detective Reed's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So Adam kind of knows that Detective Reed is gay, but like I said in my episode 1 review of this season, Detective Reed is a closeted gay man. Now, while everything's happening, we get the aspect of what Zachary Quinto's character Sam is doing. He's trying to enjoy this life he's having, being gay, and trying to bring in young men, or men for sex, and keeping them in his little so-called dungeon or basement. And he does have that, and it's really weird how Zachary Quinto plays this role, but he plays it so well. And the character of Big Daddy, who is that big hulking brute of a man in the leather costume, is like if Bloodyface and the leather man had a child and you had Big Daddy. That's what that is. Now, the aspect of this episode is also really slow going, but we get the gist of certain things, and we kind of find out that Hannah Wells, Billy Lord's character, meets up with Sandra Bernhard's character of Fran. Fran is the leader of this lesbian organization, with her and her 2 friends go around and they antagonize Gino about, okay, listen, you put certain things about gay men in this article, but not you putting anything about lesbian women in articles. So Gino's like, fine, there's a dusty desk, go there, do your thing, write articles about it. I don't care, just stay out of my hair. And the way Gino was tortured is just crazy. This serial killer is putting needles through his fingernails, injecting him with things. But I feel like the killer didn't finish his job, because Gino had a United States Marine Corps tattoo on his chest. And then the killer put him back to sleep and then said, thank you for your service. So the character of Gino and Detective Reed are really interesting as a love interest both in this season. It's probably the best written couple I've seen in an American Horror Story season in a very, very long time. And they fight, they bicker back and forth, because Gino is very proud to be a homosexual gay man. And then Detective Reed's like, I don't know, I'm still kind of this, I don't want to show, and it's not my kind of scene or anything. So Gino tells Reed, or Patrick, to say, come on, we're going. They go to a local bar, and while Reed is doing his own thing, Gino is just enjoying himself. And then there's a gentleman there who trying to picks up Detective Reed. Detective Reed brushes him off. This man goes to the other side of the bar, gets a Mai Tai evidently, and it's the killer, it's the serial killer that is going around killing people. And we kind of have a gist of who it is because we see his face when he walks into the doctor's office of Hannah Wells. There she is. She's a doctor, not a scientist. So there we go. So then all of a sudden, as this man who's standing at the edge of the bar comes around, it's like the killer just stabs him in the throat and walks out. Nothing. Nobody sees it because everybody's preoccupied with one another. It's very crazy how everything was done. And not only that, the character of Mac, another detective, played by Kal Penn, who you may know from Harold and Kumar, who played Kumar. He's in this as well. And at the end of this episode, we see that the killer leaves different hands in an alleyway, about 5 or 6 hands from different victims. So it's like an aspect of like, okay, who's really the serial killer? What's happening? Who's behind it? Who's controlling it? And the other story is that Detective Reed also was married before, and we find that Leslie Grossman's character of Barbara tries to figure out everything. And Leslie Grossman's characters in American Horror Story are always really interesting because they're more so of a nuisance, they're annoying. But in this one, she's really, really perfect. She's stoic. And the scene she shares with Gino's character, trying to figure out what's in this box with the handkerchiefs, the leather straps, and the bondage, really eye-opening for both characters, and they don't know what's happening. So you have that happening with that character. A lot of things are going to happen in this season, and I feel like it's going to be a very, very interesting, fun season. And the reason I say that is because we've never seen anything like this done before in a anthology series at all, especially having new characters taking place in the 1980s. I do want to say that, American Horror Story did go that route of going to the 1980s with season 9, which was 1984. But then you have this, which takes place in the 1980s in New York City. While Gino and Patrick are talking in their apartment, you can hear the sirens from the police cars, the fire trucks, and the ambulances going on outside, because New York City during the time in the 80s was an interesting time of the corruption, the drugs, the sex, the murders. Like, it was a surprising place to live, and they're capturing that with this. Now, in a future episode of this season, there is an episode titled Blackout. So they're going to touch on a big blackout in New York City. That could change and that could shift. Really, really interesting on how the story plays out. I do want to say that, and I've said this in my other previous American Horror Story reviews of seasons, that when they get up to episode 5, it's always good. After episode 5 happens, they rush everything just to finish off the season and the episodes. All the stories get jumbled together and it ends terribly. I'm hoping it does the same where it doesn't do that. If that made sense. Let me backtrack a little bit. I'm hoping they don't do that. All right? Where this entire season is one steady pace, good pacing, good dialogue, good acting, good filmmaking, and capturing the essence of what this culture is in this show and in this season. 1 through 5 episodes are always good. These first 2 episodes, phenomenal. Great. I said it before, some people might find this season a little uneasy, a little bit unnerving because of what the subtext is and the contrast of the plot and everything. Put that aside. If you're a fan of this show like I have been for the past 11 seasons or 11 years, you will enjoy what they're doing and what's happening with this show. I'm excited to see what happens in the rest of this season because it's really, really well done, and I'm very, very surprised. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about episode 2, season 11 of American Horror Story NYC, or New York City. This episode titled Thank You for Your Service. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? Do you think that this episode was better than the first one, or were they both equal and the same? And also let me know what you think is going to happen in the rest of this season. And remember, each week is a 2-episode week for 5 weeks, consisting of a total of 10 episodes for this season. So let me know in the comment section below about all the questions I just asked about episode 2 of American Horror Story season 11, NYC. And I'll see you all in the next review video. And be sure you tune in next week for my episode 3 and episode 4 review of American Horror Story NYC.